Republican lawmakers are demanding answers after documents marked classified were found in an office space that President Biden used before he was elected. The documents come from Mr. Biden's time as vice president. Here's what we know. The roughly 10 documents were found back on November 2nd at the Penn Biden Center. The president's personal attorneys made the discovery while cleaning out the space. A special counsel to the president says the find was reported to the National Archives on that same day. The National Archives then retrieved the documents the following morning and notified the Department of Justice. Attorney General Merrick Garland has assigned a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney to find out how the material ended up at the center. Here to explain what happens next in the investigation is Hofstra law professor James Sample. Thanks so much for joining us, Professor.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. And first, let's talk about the investigations. DOJ is going to try to determine the intent behind these documents being kept at the Biden office.
That's correct. I mean, the first order of business for the Department of Justice is to handle this matter with the utmost seriousness, and they've already done that by, as you mentioned, having a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney look into this matter. And what the Department of Justice wants to determine is, did this happen by accident? Did this happen willfully? How did the documents end up in the folder that they're in, which contains other personal items? How did that folder end up in a box in a locked closet in former Vice President, now President Biden's office at the Penn Center? And what, if anything, could have been compromised from an information perspective? Did anyone, for example, have access to that locked closet? And
what are the possible outcomes of this investigation?
Most likely, there won't be much of an outcome. I mean, they will certainly look at the possibility of prosecuting, but most classified information cases don't end up in a prosecution. And what they tend to look for is aggravating circumstances. Is there obstruction of justice? Was this a willful violation? Was the information exposed to anyone who's not allowed to see it? Or was there disloyalty to the United States involved? If one of those things is involved, then it goes to a sort of next level, and there's a real possibility of prosecution. And those aggravating circumstances are some of the differences that distinguish this from the documents in Mar-a-Lago, for example.
Professor, we've already seen quite a lot of drama from this new Congress. Is this something that could lead to political consequences for the president?
Absolutely. I think that if you're comparing the potential legal risks and the potential political risks for President Biden, the political risks here are far greater. You know, we just had a new Republican House of Representatives sworn into Congress last week, and these documents and the discovery of these documents and the fact that these documents existed, you might as well put a bow on them, because it's a gift to those in the Republican Party who want to engage in sort of whataboutism and both sidesism and a kind of false equivalence. And there is no doubt that the Republicans in the House of Representatives particularly will use their megaphone to draw attention to this misstep.
But Professor, it reminds us of the discovery of classified documents at former President Trump's Florida residence Mar-a-Lago. Tell us about these two situations and how they compare.
I think it's really like comparing an accidental fender bender in a parking lot to a DUI that's combined with a hit and run. Here, the President Biden's attorneys discovered the documents, as you said at the top, and immediately notified the National Archives. The National Archives had the documents back within a day, and we're talking about, as you said, 10, maybe a dozen documents as opposed to 300 documents. But most importantly, it's the difference in how things were handled once the documents were discovered. You know, in the case of former President Trump in Mar-a-Lago, the 300 documents were the subject of numerous requests by the National Archives that either weren't responded to or were responded to with obstruction techniques. And it took months and months for those documents to be recovered. And even then, only some of them were recovered. And when it turned out that there were more, the FBI had to go as far as to get a search warrant to obtain yet more documents.
Yeah.
Here, the president's attorneys notifying authorities immediately and cooperating immediately, it couldn't be a sharper contrast.
Professor Sample of Hofstra University, thank you so much for joining us this morning.